Hey everybody, what's up? This is SKNova, back making some videos. So I just wanted to make a video. This is probably going to be a multi-part series, and things are still changing on the new top 10 legendaries for patch 1.10. So what I have, and I'll show on the screen here, is going to be a little bit hard to read. I'll try to zoom in here. So I put a list of all of the legendaries, including the old and new versions of them for this current patch, and I kind of ranked them based off skill, gold or orange being, a skill I think is really good for the class, defines it, one that you definitely want to have, purple being one of the buff good skills, can be replaced by maybe a few different heroes. The legendary one would be like the top 1 to 3 characters that have this ability. They are the best person for that job. The epic is probably a few replacements. Yellow is a unique one where the ability is very specialized or specific, works in some cases, doesn't work in others. And then green are good. And then some of the bad ones, like stuff with hero reduction or decreased accuracy, I ranked a little bit lower. One-hit stuff, just because it's not nearly as good. So I've been going through the characters, trying to rank which ones I think are the top 10. And if we zoom in on the very top here, the three that I think are kind of extremely overpowered, and possibly, if you would call it the SS tier or the top tier, these are the ones that you would use in almost every single situation. They're good in all sorts of areas, except for Hegemon, who is just has an absolutely insanely overpowered ability for Arena, which is the only one that I put as a red ability, which bumps him up into the top 3, because pretty much if anyone has ever faced him in Arena, you realize that that skill is just totally broken. There's no way to work around it, you can't really counter it, and if Hegemon is built properly, it's very hard to defeat it, other than maybe stacking resist on all of your characters, which for going up against one specific character is not ideal, but we'll talk about that quickly. So just going through this list, the top 10 quickly here. I don't know if you guys can see this. I'm going to zoom in really close. There we go. So the next one, I'm still kind of working on the order of the, say, next 10 or so. We'll talk to top 14. It's hard to pick the exact top 10. One thing that's interesting is I think Valkyrie has moved up into the top ranks. Her skills are all pretty good in certain situations, and of course she has counterattack, and being that there's only 2 legendary heroes with counterattack, or counterattack on all heroes, 1 epic hero with it, very important ability to have. So there's only 3, so they're all top 3. Martyr being the best one for that buff, obviously, because it also comes with increased defense, but Valerie's being very good, and now that her cooldown has been reduced to be in line and actually work on the clan boss, she's bumped up. I had her before sort of middle of the good tier. Now she's bumped up all the way into at least the top 15. Placement is hard to say. This was the pre-nerf Tomb Lord, where basically he could basically solo spiders. He's been revamped, and his ability isn't terrible, it's just not quite as dominant. So he's dropped down a bit. Probably a little bit further, just compared to these other guys. But let's go over this quickly. Martyr and Warlord, probably hard to deny their power. Warlord possibly one of the has an ability similar to Septimus in the passive ability that has a 30% chance to increase the debuffs on the target. That is amazing for clan boss, keeps your poisons up, keeps your debuffs up. Pretty much a must have, but Septimus also has that, and Septimus isn't nearly ranked as high, because Warlord also has the ability to heal and shield allies, and shield is a huge buff, basically extending the health of all allies by 30% or more. I guess 30%, but it's 30% of Warlord's health, so you can definitely stack health on him, making it a little bit better, making him top tier. Martyr is pretty much self-explanatory for most people. You use Martyr, she's great and pretty much a must-have in clan boss, the top counterattack hero, great in Arena, great in numerous dungeons, maybe she could campaign farm for you too, not the best at that, but in all the areas that really matter, she's number 1. So she's by far number 1. Warlord will be placed in pretty much all areas as well. He's great in arena, but dominant, especially in the clan boss for the debuff extenders. And you can use them on many of the dungeons as well. So those are definitely the easy top 2 choices. You use them everywhere. Hegemon, you're not going to really use him. He's not dominant in clan boss by any means. You're probably not going to use him there. But he's just so dominant in arena. Absolutely dominant. Unfairly dominant. I had to mention him. I think that would put him in the top 3. His second ability that attacks all enemies and also has a chance of placing block cooldown skills. I know it says 50%. I don't know if debuff skills have a higher % chance to land against other characters, which probably have lower resistance, but I've gone up against them and have all 4 of my characters have all their cooldown skills blocked, which basically there's no coming back from. He does great damage, he goes first, he blocks everybody's cooldown skills, so you essentially have no counter, even if you are faster than the rest of the enemy's team's heroes, and they will pretty much just CC and wipe you out. So he makes arena an instant win for anyone who has him. There's very few people that do, because he's a void legendary, super dominant, too overpowered. Does it need to be fixed? Probably, but it's going to be rare enough that you can avoid him on defensive teams. But the people that have him will just roll through all the arena events going forward. So a little bit unfair. If there was a way to counter it, or if it was a 50% chance to go first or something, that might be okay, but I think it's just too dominant, so I put him in the top 3, although he's not for the same reasons as other people, where he's good everywhere. It's mostly just because he's overpowered in one certain area. Bad L, similar, probably the best sustained healer in the game, with the continuous heals, with 2 15% continuous heals, plus the debuff removal, plus the fact that puts poison on enemies. This is by far the best healing ability in the game. Bad L is A2, so hands down we will just say Bad L is great. There's not one area that he cannot be used in, so he's definitely up there. You could replace him with Hegemon for that reason, so it's very good. The next ones get better in certain areas than others. Venus obviously has a multi-hit A1 with poison, as does Nethril and Zavia. Excuse me, so all those are very good. What Venus also has, though, is the AoE HP burn, which is very hard to find. That's her A3. Well, you can... I'll put this onto a Google document so you can look at it. Let's look at the champions in here, because it's just so much easier. Whoops. Into the index. Yeah, so she won't usually have that, because you won't have Cupidist in most cases, but so this ability, I mean, that changes the strategy that you use on the Spider 20 dungeon. Works great in PvP, but really she's a fantastic clan boss hero. She already comes with your debuffs, and so she got the debuffs, she has great damage, she has HP burn, which makes her useful in different areas, so all around one of the top damage dealing supports in the game. Amazing on clan boss. She's not a pure attack, she has some defensive stats, so that makes her pretty good. Also in the same realm, Sir Nicholas, fantastic in so many dungeons. He will help you pass a lot of the dungeons that you probably otherwise would not be able to because of his shield ability. His shield ability is top tier, one of the only people that has this. An AoE damage, that the damage turns into a shield for all of your allies. Fantastic. He helped me get past Spider 20. On top of that, he also has an unkillable. Makes him silly in arena. It's a very annoying skill to work around. His A1 also has, it's not a guaranteed chance to freeze, but it's pretty high % chance, and it cannot be resisted, so you don't even need to worry about accuracy for that part. All around fantastic hero. So Sir Nicholas, I have him just probably neck and neck with Venus. Martyr, Warlord, Bad L, Venus, Sir Nick, probably the top 5 easily, and silly Hegemon from the Knight Revenant probably up there as well, but only because of this ability. This ability is really good in arena, not very good elsewhere, And this ability is actually really good too. More so for, this is more like a dungeon thing, but really in dungeons you're just going to be using these two abilities, and there's probably equivalent or better choices. They're not bad. I mean, an AoE decrease attack, very good. The block cooldown skills doesn't really work on bosses, so not as good there, but has quite the kit for Arena. So absolutely amazing. So there you go. Those are the top 6 heroes so far. What else we got? So Nethril and Xavia have fairly close. They have slightly different purposes, but the reason I ranked Nethril slightly higher than Xavia is Xavia's A3 really isn't very good for the clan boss. So if you're doing a manual attack, no problem, just avoid using A3. Nethril's also isn't that useful, but Nethril's, I think A3 is a little bit better in PvP and in dungeons. So I prefer to bring him. Both of them have a similar chance and amount of poisons that they praise. Xavia is actually a little bit higher. So I have those two sort of neck and neck. Oh, sorry, Xavia is not a high elf, she's a dark elf. Alright, I think she has a higher chance. She has a 40. Nethril has a 30% chance. Otherwise they're very, very close. So actually, Nethril's chance is based off of, has a buff chance too, I think. Yeah, so it actually goes up to 50% chance. So yeah, so there you go. So Nethril's actually slightly better. Add them close. Either way, you wouldn't want to really bring both of them into the clan boss, because there's just going to be too many poisons, and you're going to reach the debuff limit, and then you potentially lock out some of your other debuffs that you really need, like attack down. So you'd bring one of them, but I think either one of them can be used. Both very good. Their affinities are different, so if you had both of them, you could use them for different affinities on the clan boss. That would be pretty cool. But both of them super, super good. At number 9, I have Arbiter. Now, originally I thought Arbiter would be super overpowered. I think she would have been had her speed been left at 120, just because she would be the choice that you'd have to use. It would be very difficult for people to recover from a 10 speed difference. Before she was obtainable, they changed it down to 110 speed. She still has a 30% aura, which is fantastic. Her abilities are good. It's interesting though that because she doesn't attack with this ability, she doesn't have the same ability as, say, Seeker does to lock out the other team's top speed hero. Actually, that made her less powerful, but more in line with, I guess, the other characters. So, one cool thing is, if you are using her for clan boss, she's very good if you manually use her abilities. Because most of the times you won't want to use Enforced Stability, and you may want to choose whether or not to use this ability on cooldown, and then this is just a default skill. So this ability you can use on cooldown. Every 3 turns you're going to give everyone a attack buff plus some turn meter, which is fantastic. This fills the other and you as well, so basically it uses up your turn to give everybody else 20%. If everybody else is already turn meter capped, this ability can be wasted. So you can choose whether or not to use that, but being able to revive in the clan boss is also amazingly useful. So she is up there as well. But I think in a few places, so she can replace an arena with Lord Shazar pretty easily. She isn't as dominant in the arena, other than her speed boost, but just in terms of her abilities, I think Lysandra is probably the best. Except for the Seeker's ability to lock down or lock out one person with his provoke makes him a little bit better, and the fact that he attacks, so you can use the mastery that reduces turn meter, makes a good choice. So I think they did a pretty good job of balancing the arena speed heroes, because all of them bring a slightly different utility, and depending on the team and what you want, you can choose different heroes for the task. So she's cool. Arbiter can be used everywhere, just have to choose her abilities depending on what you're using her for. So this one might be a little bit controversial. I might be a little bit biased because I have him, but I think Big Un is probably rounding out the top 10. The reason for that is he has incredible damage with his A1 ability when geared. he also provides quite great utility. So his one attack and his second attack, if it crits, do similar damage, so they're not reduced. The AoE is not reduced, so you're getting an AoE attack that does similar damage to a single target attack. Now in most cases you see the scaling of people's AoE attacks, and it seems to always do a little bit less damage than their single target attack equivalents. Or if they have a multi-hit ability, the multi-hits will each hit will do a little bit less damage than a large single target hit. So it kind of levels it out, so it's not too overpowered. However, when it crits, and the second hit does also equivalent damage, it's almost like getting 2 attacks in for the price of 1 on your A1 ability. So I think that makes it pretty good. It's similar to Fushan's ability, where he has a chance to proc another hit. The other hit has equal damage to the first hit. His first hit is also pretty powerful to begin with, and it can chain proc, so that makes Fushan's A1 very good. Beigun has a similar, very good A1 ability. The A2, which gives the stun, fantastic in arena, can also be used in Spider and in dungeons on minions, making it super powerful. Decreased accuracy is kind of like a bonus. You don't really care if that lands or not, but cases like the Spider, where it helps your team avoid some poisons landing, can also be pretty good. This I really like. It's a 2-hit ability, so it has twice the chance to proc crits and stuff like that. Decreases the turn meter by 25%, and places a decreased speed debuff. Now this is an AoE, so places it on all of the spiders, all of the people in arena. AoE abilities are super powerful in arena, makes him very good. He's also one of the top campaign farmers in the game. I'd put him as the probably the third best campaign farmer after Queen Eva and Bellower, probably my top 2. Possibly Baron is up there as well, but I don't know how the damage nerf is going to affect him, but we'll see. So he's at least in the top 4 campaign farmers in the game in terms of speed. The only thing he doesn't have going for him is the magic affinity. Yeah, so that would be my top 10 list, but getting up there that are also pretty close is hard. These are like all the top tier epics. I have 14 top tier epics that people will be getting. Actually, no, I only have 13 now because the Tomb Lord has been slightly nerfed and pushes it slightly outside the top. But so Razin, amazing hero. The fact that he is a fusion character and everyone has access to him essentially is very good. Start off with his AoB ability that has 100% turn meter, fantastic. Again, the only thing that kind of goes against this is the affinity, so it doesn't work well against spirit heroes. It can have a glancing blow or miss hit or whatever, so it doesn't do full damage. This ability is actually really good because it attacks and also places the debuff. A lot of, like Dracomorph has a similar ability, not quite as good because it doesn't attack, so it kind of wastes a little bit of damage, but still a chance of placing the buff. Basically 100% chance once fully skilled, makes it very good. On a 3-turn cooldown, keeps it up, great for clan boss. That's a very good ability. Probably one of the better ones in the game for putting both those debuffs on. And of course, not only does he have a 3-hit, he has a chance of removing a buff, which is also important for the clan boss once you get to below 50%. So he is usually in the top tier list, must have. The other cases where he's actually being removed is by his other lizard buddy, Dracomorph. So Dracomorph has been bumped up from a below average legendary to now, I think, top tier, mostly because of the 4 poison debuff, 4 3-turn or 4-turn with masteries. Poison debuff is huge. It's pretty close between Dracomorph and Xavia in terms of which one can place poisons faster and more poisons. The fact that they also fixed his decreased defense. I think it was a 30% before. Now it's back to 60%. With the 30%, this ability was essentially useless, and you'd have to bring someone to put 60% on anyways. It's on a 3-turn cooldown as well, so that's very good. The other thing is his A1 isn't fantastic. So I actually have Dracomorph. I've been trying him out in Clan Boss. I've had cases where I have 10 debuffs. I don't know if if poison counts as a debuff, so maybe that's part of the reason why, but it's hard to get past how many is it? You have weaken, decreased defense, decreased attack, You have healing reduction, you have block cooldowns, which I don't think works on the boss. Essentially, you have like the 4 debuffs plus poisons that you're gonna put on the boss. And I mean, the way I have him isn't super geared. I can probably show him quick here. And his crits hit for about 50k. I have him in lifesteal gear and health, mainly for survivability on the clan boss. He's still kind of not squishy, but the problem is with the new ultimate nightmare clan boss, you need quite high accuracy, you need quite high speed. It takes away from a lot of the damage stats that he can get. So I'm kind of just picking and choosing gear to give him some survivability, some defense, but definitely still need to re-gear quite a bit. I mean, the new clan boss makes the game interesting again, meaning that you have to start changing all of your gear and things around because of that. Just finishing out the top 10 list, I have Valkyrie on the list because they fixed her ability here, counterattack ability. This used to be 5 turns, I believe, and then with 1 turn cooldown brought down to 4, but now it's 4, you can be brought down to 3. And then at 4 turns you can't use it on the clan boss because you won't get it up in time for every ability, so essentially you start missing counterattacks. People hated that. Turn meter doesn't work on the clan boss, but fantastic for arena and for dungeons, so that's pretty good there. She pushed the shield and the counterattack on buff, so that's why I have this as one of the top tier legendary type abilities, which puts Valkyrie into the top tier. And probably not quite as good as Martyr. I think Martyr just has slightly better kit, but very good nonetheless. Like if you had to choose, if you had both of them, go with Martyr probably, but Valkyrie is also an excellent choice, and definitely miles ahead of Skullcrusher now, which is another choice for counterattack, the third and last choice. So before she went from not usable to very, very much usable, so definitely worth having. I will mention Tomb Lord. I think he's getting a bit of a bad rap because of the change. He's not insanely overpowered anymore. They changed it. I think change all his abilities. I would say the same, I think. Yeah, so this ability. Basically what the buff was what made this ability so that it would reset every single time that he reduced the turn meter of enemies. So on the spider boss, you'd get the enemies down to kind of less than half health. You'd start reducing turn meter. You would start to kill them. Enemies would die. You place tons of poisons on everything. Basically wiping out all the spiders, making the fight much, much easier. And plus you would get tons of extra turns. And that was a little bit overpowered, so they changed it so that he can only get 1 bonus extra turn instead of unlimited extra turns. Still very useful on the spider, but not insanely overpowered. It sucks because I think a lot of people found it. People probably did use a bunch of skill tomes on him, which may feel like it went to waste. He's a lot better than he used to be by far. I think I had him in the very bottom tier before, like usable in very certain situations. These sort of abilities were kind of more like PvP-ish, but yet he had poisons. So he's kind of like a mixture character. Still sort of is, but this ability is just much better than it was, even with the nerf. Still not enough to make him top tier. I think he's bumped up in sort of like the middle to average tier right now, where there could be certain cases where you use them, but you're not going to use them all over the place everywhere. Not good, not bad. But there you go. Those are my new top 10 heroes. So just to re-summarize what I got here. Feel free to comment and tell me what you think. Maybe I'm way off. If you want to see the middle tier of who we compare to, these are all the characters I think that are also insanely good. Usable in certain situations. They just don't quite dominate in certain situations like the top ones do. Ray, Lysandra, Old Baron. The new Baron I put down here outside of this range, because I just don't know how much the decreased damage will be, but still very good. Kymar, great hero. The Tomb Lord after nerf is going to be somewhere in this range. Fushan, Folly, Cupidus, Thorvald, Kutraxa, the old Valkyrie was in this range, now she's bumped up here. Rashgard's in there, dominant in arena. Longbeard, fantastic hero, similar to counterattack. Very, very good. Skartosis, the new hero as a last patch, Crypt King Rel. Septimus and Lord Shazar, mostly for his arena buff. And then, you know, some middle tier that are good, say, mostly in arena or certain situations. Queen Eva probably could be bumped up, it's just that I don't really like her A1. And then you get into sort of the lower bottom tier that I think could still need some buffs. Good in certain situations, not all of them. Altan's an interesting one, he might actually get bumped up into the new list. And Raglan, I think she's good now. I just don't know how good she is, or if you would, like, what heroes you're going to replace in your clan boss team with her, for example. And I still think there's a bunch that kind of need to be worked on the bottom here. Shamrock still being the very bottom. Astrolith going from not usable at all to kind of middle tier. So I think that's kind of cool. That's a good change. But yeah, the best, Black Knight, Lugan, Bloodgorge, all these heroes could still have some changes made to them to make them more in line with some of the better characters, let's say. I'm not saying these legendaries are bad and you would never use them, just that they don't bring as much as some of the better legendaries. And there's probably certain dungeons or situations where they could be used, but they just don't dominate the game like the top tier do. Cool. Let me know what you guys think. Like and subscribe. Glad to be making videos again. Hopefully this kind of helped. I am still working on a speed guide, so hopefully we get that one out soon. And we will see you in the next video.